What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Crush City Territory. My name is Chandler Rome, along with Tyler Stafford. And Tyler, we just watched two carbon copies of each other play 3 games at Kauffman Stadium this weekend. Entering Sunday, there were only 3 teams in baseball that had hit fewer than 20 home runs. The Royals and the Astros were 2 of them. And the third was the Blue Jays, who the Astros just played. And then exiting today's game, the Astros have the 4th lowest ERA in baseball. The Royals have the 6th lowest ERA in baseball. So these were 2 teams that cannot hit at the moment, but can pitch. And that kind of bore out. The Astros did not score in the first 2 games, get shut out in consecutive games for the first time in a couple of years. And then they break out and score 7 runs to salvage a game on Sunday against the Royals. They'll come back and face the world-beating Detroit Tigers, 1 game above 500 at 14-13. Tyler, they needed again. There's no game in April; it's a must-win, but felt like they needed to salvage Sunday to leave with some positive taste in their mouth, because the first 2 games of that series were tough to watch from an offensive perspective.
Yeah, I put this on Twitter, but so they scored Wednesday night in the 2nd inning. They scored all their runs. Then on an off day Thursday, then were shut out Friday and Saturday. So by the time first pitch came around today, they had gone 88 consecutive hours without scoring a run in the middle of a baseball season, which is not ideal. So it was good to see Jordan hit a home run, have a couple other good at bats. But look, if you didn't love that series, I don't ever want to hear you talk about how baseball used to be better back in the day. That was like the most exciting baseball in 1984. And it felt like a nap watching this series for sure.
You know what I loved? You see that time of game on Friday?
And you weren't even there to celebrate it.
I was not, and I was so mad. I texted Blummer, I texted Matt Kalahar, I texted Julia. I was like, "Are you kidding me? You guys, the one day I'm not there, you guys get a 1 hour and 58-minute game. Like, imagine all the time they had for activities."
Pretty good.
Imagine all the time they had for activities after that.
So many activities in Kansas City. Just run it up. So my parents were there, so that was fun.
How did it go?
They loved it. It was great. 2 thumbs up on Kansas City, and they have now completed, or at least my mom has. I think my dad missed some of the trips when she was a child. But my mom has now completed all 50 states. So I asked her to give me a ranking top to bottom. She wouldn't do it. She's too proud of visiting all of them. But they really liked it. They said the stadium was really nice. I've never been there. They loved the Negro League Museum, and my dad's a big history nerd too. So I guess the Harry S. Truman Museum is there as well. He was giving me the rundown of that. But no, they enjoyed it. Sounded like fun. They saw the first game of the series, which I think is probably the worst as an Astros fan. At least yesterday you got to see Framber throw a weird complete game where you lose and you only have to throw 8 innings. But they saw the first one.
Yeah, I think, first of all, you mentioned the Negro League Museum. It did look like Cam Smith got to go get a pretty exclusive private tour from Bob Kendrick, who runs the Negro League Museum. So that had to be really, really cool for him. As someone that's getting to do all this for the first time, gets to go to all these cities and do these major league road trips for the first time. He'll get to do a lot of cool things. He'll get to sign the monster at some point at Fenway in August. But going to Kansas City, that's like a rite of passage. You get to go to the Negro League Museum. And it was cool for Cam Smith to get to go and see that for himself. But you mentioned Framber. Let's start with him. We've kind of settled in a routine of how we recap these series, kind of what impressed us first. And I think Framber has to be up there because, it did not start well. First inning did not look promising. And then, to see him settle in, to see him pitch like we know Framber can pitch and get ground balls and just be a dude. He had been very inconsistent the first 5 starts of this season. I think it was very encouraging to see what he did on Saturday, even with no run support.
Yeah, no, he looked good. I mean, it's a classic Framber game where you look up, it's the 7th inning. he's thrown like 70 pitches, and you're like, all right, I guess this is what we're doing. So good to see him back out there with a good start, even though I think the rest of his team forgot they were playing that day. So not much else to talk about from that game. But yeah, Framber looked good in that one.
You know who else looked good? It's freaking Hunter Brown, man. He's incredible. Like he legit may be the best pitcher in baseball right now. Like
I think he's the best pitcher since Don Draper. You know, he's crushing it, man. He's so good.
I mean, it's been a joy to watch him. Just from it's aesthetically pleasing to watch him. Just kind of bear down, throw 99 by someone. Bear down when he gets runners on base. His scoreless inning streak did snap today. That wasn't going to go on forever, but he still does have the 5th longest scoreless inning streak by a starting pitcher in Astros history. So good for Hunter Brown. He's got the 4th lowest ERA in baseball right now. Do you want to guess the 3 guys ahead of him, starting pitchers that have a lower ERA than Hunter Brown?
What's his name from the Cubs or the Dodgers? Which one?
Dodgers, yes.
Dodgers, yes. No, I have no idea. Who else has had this great of a start?
So Yoshinobu Yamamoto has a 1.06. That's the Dodger of whom you spoke. Tyler Mahle of the Texas Rangers.
That's right.
He has a 1.14. And Nick Pivetta has a 1.20. So Hunter Brown has the 4th lowest ERA in baseball right now. But I think the Astros will sign up for that any day of the week. He's every bit of an ace. And like we said in the last pod with Josh, he's becoming like appointment viewing. It's to a point where like you kind of set aside what you're doing if you know Hunter Brown's pitching, because it's going to be something to watch. And he just continued that today against we should have the caveat here. He continued it against a lineup that has not been good at all year. Bobby Witt Jr. is really good. The 8 other guys around him have not been. But you do what you do. He went out there and toyed with them. They gave up a few hits here and there, but just toyed with them today. They didn't really have much of a chance. I
mean, Bobby Witt, but then also Salvi Perez at 55 years old or whatever he is still great, which is I can't imagine being a catcher for that long and still being even remotely good at hitting. He's great. I mean, that's incredible, the longevity that he's had. But yeah, not a lot of scary names in the Royals lineup.
For real though, do you know how old Salvador Perez is?
He's got to be 38, 39.
He is 34 years. He's Jose Altuve.
That's not true.
I guarantee.
That's not true.
Same thing. Like I had someone like do this to me last year because I was under the same impression as you. I thought Salvador Perez was like pushing.
That is not true. Nope, I do not believe that.
He and Jose Altuve are the same age and were born 4 days apart.
No.
So Jose Altuve's birthday is May 6th. Salvador Perez is May 10th. They will both turn 35 this year.
No, I don't like that, and I will not hear it.
Yeah, he's still a good player. So is Jose Altuve, who did not play today. Got his first day off of the year. There's not much we can take offensively from this that we can say impressed us. Chas McCormick got 3 hits today. First, he's out of the witness protection program and started a game today and got 3 hits, which I guess is good for him. But Tyler, we'll get to the offense a little bit, but I mean, at this point last year, like Astros were off to a terrible start at this point last year, and every Astros fan you talk to, everyone online was just yelling for Joey Lopperfido. Remember? Like Joey Lopperfido was going to come up and save the season, save the lineup. How can you keep this guy in AAA? Like bring him up now. They're not hitting. The difference now, between now and last year, is like there is no one that the fan base can clamor for. There's no one that they can call up.
No, this is the best team they have.
Right.
This is it.
They burned their 2 like April call-ups when they put Cam Smith and Zach DeCenzo both on the roster
and you'll notice they have a better record than last year when you didn't have better players on the team. So I think all things being equal, you would probably prefer this. But yeah, no, there's This is it. I mean, the team's not getting, reinforcements from anywhere internally that's going to meaningfully change. Now we're going to say that, and Cesar Salazar is going to come up and have a 130 OPS for the rest of the year on accident. But no, I mean, there's nobody that you're looking to right now to save the offense.
Yeah, and it's one of those frustrating things. Like, fans are clamoring; they want something different. They want to shake up. Like, I don't know what more you can do. I mean, these are the 13 position players they have. I mean, you bring up Shea Whitcomb's not going to make a difference. Like, Cesar Salazar is not going to make a difference. Like, if Bryce Matthews showed any sort of a pulse at AAA, and he did homer today, I'll give him that. But I believe he's slugging like 330 in the Pacific Coast League, where if you hit
that's
a
like
ball,
double Yiner. That's pretty good.
If you hit a ball in the air in the Pacific Coast League, it's probably going to go out of the ballpark. He's slugging 330 in the PCL. Bryce Matthews would be really the only guy that you could say, like, look, if he was producing, you could say, all right, bring him up, stick him at second base every day, and hit him 6th to 8th in the order, and just hope that he can give you a spark, give you some sort of different dimension. And he hasn't produced, and Jacob Melton has been off and on with the back injury. And again, at this point, I don't really know where he'd fit in because of the way they're working these outfielders out. So those are the two guys that you would look to and say, hey, like, give us a spark. And neither of them are in position to do that.
Can I give you a sad stat here?
Please do.
All right. So you mentioned these are the 13 position players that the Astros have. Do you happen to know, or you want to just take I mean, it's not a big deal, but Fangraphs, what do you think the Astros position player war is right now?
It's probably, is it under 4?
Oh, way under 4.
Under 4? Well, I figure
Pena's at 1.
Pena's at 1. I figured he'd be over 1 because of his defense.
His defense is up there, but I'm looking at just Fangraphs total war.
Is it over 2?
It is barely over 2. It's 2.3. Would you like to take a guess at what Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman have combined for in the same time frame?
I'm going to guess over 4. I'm going to guess.
It's 3.2. So they have those two together have been worth more than the entire Astros position player group by a pretty big margin for a month to put up an entire war above them. That's not ideal. So they're dealing with that. But yeah, I mean, this is the team. Like, it's not going to get better. And I don't want to watch Yiner and Christian Walker hitting back to back. Honestly, I don't really want to watch them in an Astros uniform. I'd prefer if there was some kind of swapsies we could work out before every game where, maybe just let them play for the other team for a little bit. Maybe that works out for them. But man, those are. And I know Yiner ran into one today and had a home run, and Christian Walker missed a 3-run homer by 10 feet that he pulled a little bit too much. But they're bad right now. I mean, they are rough to watch, and it's to the point where, like, you recognize, who's coming up, and you just already are in like defeatist mode of, oh gosh, you almost are praying for a strikeout instead of a double play at that point. If they have runners on, like, well, maybe whoever's batting 7th and 8th can dig them out of this hole, but it's not going to be these two guys.
And at this point, Christian Walker is answering your prayers because he's striking out.
He sure is.
Now, before we go to a break real quick, I do, like you mentioned, the Tucker Bregman thing about their aggregate war as put up against the Astros current position player war. Are we guilty, not us specifically, but just in general as Astros followers, onlookers, observers, media, did we not make enough big enough deal that the Astros traded their best player? And like, this is what happens when you trade your best player. Like, you can give me all the what ifs and Isaac Paredes is going to pull 50 homers and Christian Walker is going to have this many goals. Like, they traded their best player.
Yep.
And it is going to be really hard to make up for that in the aggregate. And then you put on top of that Bregman's gone. And again, they had prepared for Bregman going. But when you trade your best player, this is bound to happen. Not maybe to this extreme, but you took out one of the top 5 players in baseball from the middle of this order. And it's really hard to overcome that. And I wonder, like, did we not make a big enough deal of that? Or were we just oblivious or blasé, or just kind of thought, hey, Isaac Paredes, Christian Walker, like that'll solve everything?
What's interesting is the Kyle Tucker trade still just makes sense. Like yes, he's your best player, but you have to make a decision. Are you going all in for this year, or are you trying to have more of a sustained, successful run? And I think anyone would say, well, we'd rather have 5 years of a higher chance of success rather than go all in with this team this year, because Kyle Tucker on his own is not drastically, I mean, he's really, really good, but he's not going to make you World Series favorites on his own. Really, looking at the roster construction, the way it shook out with the trade bringing over Paredes and Cam Smith, not signing Bregman is what leaves a gaping hole in the Astros roster, because theoretically, if you'd signed Bregman, you'd put Paredes at second. Your infield defense is outrageous. And that's another just giant hole in their lineup, is whoever's playing second, unless it's Altuve, is just an out. They just are. And that's not even really their fault. They're not. Brendan Rodgers and Mauricio Dubon are not here to be threats offensively. No one is expecting that from them. But when you have other guys struggling, when you just have a position that you've punted on and you're just saying, we're not even going to try to have an offensive threat here, not having Bregman and the ability to kind of reconstructure, goodness, get off me.
Texas A&M.
Yeah, thank you. Don't bring that up right now. I'm still mad about the ongoing series, but yeah, I mean, that is what I think is really hurting them is not having Bregman. And again, the only thing that prevented you from having Bregman is not wanting to give him more money than another team. And that one hurts a little bit more than, okay, Tucker's not going to re-sign. You got to get assets for him. That one makes sense. Bregman is literally just, do you want to pay him more than somebody else? And the answer was no.
You gave one sad stat. I will give another sad stat right after a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
Podfather, I want to pull a very expensive card out of a pack. Very difficult to do and very expensive. I can't pay for it. Okay. How could I acquire that card?
Simple. Instead of driving somewhere, you go on Arena Club, go get you a slab pack, and you'll have some of the best cards you're ever going to see. Some one-of-ones, some cards that you want to have and you can't get out of your home. Go right online, check out Arena Club.
Yeah, I cannot recommend it enough. And every time you rip a slab pack, Arena Club will make you an instant offer for your card based on its market value. That's right. No guessing, no waiting. Instant offer for the estimated fair market value. You can accept it on the spot. You can use that cash for another slab pack, or you can buy, sell, trade. This platform has it all for the collectors out there. And right now, you can get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/foul and use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/foul, code FOUL for 20% off your first purchase.
So you mentioned, before we went to break, you mentioned the kind of automatic out that is at second base currently with whoever they put out there. And automatic out's a little harsh. Like Brendan Rodgers, if he can elevate the ball a little bit, like they can get something out of him. Mauricio Dubon puts the ball in play. Like they're not just total zeros, but they're not cornerstones of your lineup, obviously. They're not Maldonado, but they're not much better. Do you remember who they were trying to sign to play second base?
UNESCO Betancourt.
Jorge Polanco.
Oh, that's right.
Jorge Polanco, after 69 at bats with the Seattle Mariners this year, is hitting 377 with an 1144 OPS.
All right.
He is a switch hitter as well, which means he would give you balance to a team that has none of it. He only cost $7.75 million.
Cool.
40 million for Bregman's not in your price range. Like, I completely understand that. 7.75 million probably should be, or something along those lines. Again, it's early. It's 70 at bats. Like, he could crater for all we know. He's been dealing with some injuries as well. He's coming off of knee surgery that we talked about in the offseason. I think he's got a side issue as well that's limiting him from hitting from one side of the plate. So they're having to be careful with how they deploy him, but every time they put him out there, he just hits. And that would have been the plan. If they would have signed Jorge Polanco, he would have played second base. Isaac Paredes would have been at third. Christian Walker would have been at first. This lineup, again, presuming Jorge Polanco would have had this production with the Astros, looks a whole lot different with Jorge Polanco in there. But yeah, what could have been. That's like we've talked about. Like, this is the lineup they have. Like, unless they can find a Framber or a Luis Garcia or a Jose Urquidy on the position player side, a young, cheap signee that I've never heard of that comes out of nowhere and they can bring him up and starts to turn on balls. Like, I don't know where that is. I don't know where else they turn. So at this point, Joe Espada it's a tough call for him every day how to write his lineup. Like, I don't think in his heart of hearts he wanted to hit Christian Walker cleanup today. I don't think he wanted to hit Yainer Diaz in his 499 OPS fifth. But, like, who else is he going to – like, what else can he do at this? Like, I asked this, like, open-ended. Like, leave it in the comments. Like, what else can he do at this point?
Maybe start corking bats. I don't know if that's an option. I mean, the truth is that Yainer and Christian Walker and Jordan have to start hitting, and there's no amount of off the field managerial tactics that you can have. There's no batting lineup order that you can do to fix the fact that three of the hitters that you were really counting on are bad right now, all at the same time and all in the middle of the lineup. But again, you bat those guys 7, 8, 9, and it doesn't matter because you were counting on those guys to hit, and they're not hitting. And yeah, I mean, there is no fix other than those guys have to start producing, or the team is not going to be good because those are the guys that you were counting on, and you don't have another choice. They have to hit, and they have to start hitting soon. Because there's no other options. That's who's there. And it is, I do not want to watch a full season of this for sure. I mean, I don't think it's possible. I don't think anyone could hit that bad over the course of a year, especially people who have had track records. Look, Shohei's hitting like 240 right now. He's better than you know what I mean? Like,
he just had a kid. Give him a break.
Hey, that's probably why I'm struggling too. But, I don't expect it to happen. And again, if it's just one of them right now, and then in May, if it had been Christian Walker's really struggling right now, but Yainer and Jordan were hitting well, and then next month, Yainer's in a slump, it doesn't look as bad. But the fact that all three of them came out of the gates just stumbling on their faces makes it impossible to win games unless you have Hunter Brown just dominating people. Yeah, it's tough to watch.
And look, Christian Walker, Jordan Alvarez, Yainer Diaz have gotten a lion's share of the blame. And it's deserved. I mean, they are, as we have talked about, they are the three guys that you penciled in spring training to hit 3, 4, and 5 in this order and drive in runs and make this offense go, and they have not done that. Jose Altuve quietly now has a 687 OPS. He's slugging 377. He got a day off today, his first day off, and of the season. He's hitting 274, but again, it's this whole lineup. Like, there's no slug. There is no power. I mean, Jordan had 2 extra base hits today. Obviously, Yainer ran into a ball today, but like, it took them 27 games to hit 20 homers as a team. Like Eugenio Suarez hit 4 home runs in a game last night.
Mm-hmm.
The D-backs, and you're looking up and down this Astros lineup, and you're looking at it, and you're like, man, Altuve has 3 homers all season. Christian Walker has 3 homers all season. Jordan Alvarez has 3 homers all season. Like,
yeah,
they have got to find a way to inject more power, and I think that's why you're seeing Zach DeZenzo get more run. He played in all 3 games in Kansas City, and I'm curious, Tyler, what you think of how Joe is going to manage this outfield going forward, because it's pretty clear that they want DeZenzo in there to get, again, they want to raise the floor of this lineup. Like, they know DeZenzo can run into a ball. He's a big, strong kid. He's built like a tight end. Like, he can hit the ball in the gap. Like, he gives you some power upside that Jake Myers doesn't. But that could come at the expense of Cam Smith playing in right field, because there's only so many places that Zach DeZenzo is able to play. So if you were Joe, put yourself in Joe Espada's shoes, how would you handle this outfield right now, and how would you handle Zach DeZenzo specifically?
I mean, I think right now, while you're struggling for runs, I think Altuve plays second base 3 out of the 5 games of a series, and I know that they don't want him to. But if the question is how do you get more offense in, Altuve's got to play second base on the non-Hunter Brown, Framber Valdez starts, so that you can have DeZenzo, sometimes Jordan, but Smith as well. Or you just throw Cam Smith in center field and see what happens, which I think is probably going to happen here pretty soon. But again, they're kind of stuck with the roster that they have, and Yainer and Christian Walker are your only options at those positions. Like that's who's there. There's no like, oh, we can reconfigure something. Like, those guys have to hit, and that's why I think more of the pressure is on them, is because you can't do anything else than have those guys be there. There's nobody else that can take their spots. I certainly at this point wouldn't want to see any sort of like timeshare between DeZenzo and Cam Smith. I'd rather them find a way to have both guys playing 70-80% of the opportunities. But they're corner outfielders, and there's only 2 of those spots, and you've given one to Jose Altuve and the other one is Jordan's on some days. So I mean, they're just, the way their roster is configured, this is kind of what it is. So I don't know. What do you do? I have no idea.
I feel like the timeshare thing is going to have to be what goes on, at least for the time, until they feel comfortable playing Cam Smith in center field. And if that's
such a funny sentence, just objectively funny.
Yeah. If that becomes a serious thing, like, until then, and look, let's not act like Cam Smith is forcing his way into the lineup with the way he's swinging the bat either. Like, he's taking good at bats. He's still, the plate discipline is really good, but he didn't hit much this weekend either. It's not as if he's breaking down the door and like forcing himself in this lineup every day with the production that he's had. So it wouldn't be the biggest shock to see a timeshare of some form in right field while they work Cam Smith out in center behind the scenes and see how that goes. Like you said, look, and I want to make this very clear, because we've beaten a dead horse here as to why Jose Altuve is in left field. Like, I'm not going to keep repeating myself as to why they put him out there. We've covered that. But one thing I don't think that's been highlighted enough, and this is going to be in a mailbag that I wrote that's going to go on The Athletic tomorrow morning. One thing about when Jose Altuve said yes, when he accepted the Astros like basic plea to like move to left field, when he said yes, this wasn't said outright, but it was understood that because of the selfless nature of what he did, because of saying like, I'm fine, I'll move to left, I'll do whatever the team wants, the Astros want to reciprocate that by not messing with him.
Yeah.
By not making this, you're going to play second this week, and then their plan was he is going to be our primary left fielder and we're going to leave it alone. They knew they'd play him at second base every now and then, occasional start like they've done once a week, maybe twice a week sometimes. But the plan was never to, for lack of a better word, like mess with him. Because one thing Altuve values like knowing, and a lot of ball players do, like knowing where they're going to play, like being very secure in that, knowing where he's going to hit, knowing he's going to get this day off. Like he likes those assurances. And the Astros were okay with that because of how selfless he was in accepting their request. They wanted to honor him and be reverent to him as he deserves by not messing with him, not jerking him around. And so that is part of also why he's going to stay in left field, because they told him, they said, look, go work your butt off for 6 weeks in spring training, get serviceable, and we're going to basically make a decision. He did that. They saw how much he loves it. And like we've talked about this, he is so energized out there and he likes being out there. He likes playing out there, and they're not going to mess with that. Now, look, if injuries could really throw this into a upheaval, if they get into a situation where they have no other choice, they're going to do that. But like we've talked about, like they have choices here. And I think like the top choice is to get the guys you're paying to hit. And
I mean, that's the truth.
Right.
Is look, we can talk in circles about this all day. The team is not going anywhere unless your main guys are hitting. And we talk about the power stuff. Like, yes, Altuve's had big power numbers before. No one in their right mind is looking at Jose Altuve and penciling in 25, 30 home runs at 34 years old. So 3 home runs right now, that's great. I mean, look, 12, 15 home runs is more than you would ever expect from somebody like Altuve in a vacuum, right? But yeah, Jordan's got to stop hitting 370-foot flyouts to center field, and those have to start going. And Yiner has to make contact once a week. Just that we'll start there and we'll work up from there. But yeah, I mean that is the honest truth, is that those are the guys that have to perform, because really everything else has been fine. That the strategy of improving your infield defense is working amazing. I mean, Paredes and Pena on the left side of the infield are a right side. I never know. What do we call that?
They're on the left side.
Okay. See, I played first base growing up, so I always look at it from that angle, that I'm on the left side when you're standing there. Anyway, they're great. I mean, they're really, really good over there. Christian Walker is still really good at first base. And the outfield hasn't embarrassed you, which is what we talked about the whole time. It's like all they have to do is be serviceable. Cam Smith has been more than serviceable in right field. DeZenza made a great catch today. And Altuve's looked fine. I mean, Altuve has not had any, embarrassing, ones that we were talking about in spring training of like, gosh, I hope that there's not one that, he's just waiting for and it just hits him in the hat because he just misses with the, he hasn't had any of those, knock on wood, but everything else is working fine. The pitching has been great. The bullpen has hung up really well, despite what we talked about, not really having anything outside of Abreu and Hader that you can really count on. They have to hit, and that's the end of it.
I will say this. You said you're not going to sign Jose Altuve up for 20, 25 home runs at age 34. Obviously, you're not.
I mean, I know he does it, but
right.
Yeah.
I'll say this. You would sign up for more than 2 doubles in 100.
Sure.
Like, yeah. That's what we're talking about here. Like, I mean, it's been a lot of ground balls with eyes that have gotten through. And look, you don't get to the amount of hits Jose Altuve has gotten to without getting some luck, without getting some BABIP luck. But it does seem like that's been the string for him. And, this is not a guy that's ever going to be confused for a patient hitter. He's drawn 6 walks in his first 106 at bats. Like, again,
more than I would have guessed.
Right. Not that they would expect Jose Altuve to be like a walk machine, but they need a little bit more there. They need him. They need his on base percentage to not be 310. Like, I mean, look, they can live with a lower slug, but they need his on base percentage to not be 310.
The other thing is, you see, I mean, you just talked about Jorge Polanco batting 370. The Astros don't have, not only do they have people like way below what they're capable of, a lot of times the truth is you got to have a couple of guys just get hot for 2 weeks and hit 500. I mean, look at Jeremy Pena in his rookie season, where in the playoffs, he just is the best player on earth for 3 weeks, and you can win a World Series off of that. Or, I mean, even George Springer in 2017, when he's bad in the playoffs up until then, and then for 7 games, he sneezes and hits a home run every game. You know, you need something like that. The Astros haven't had anybody that I would even argue has had a hot streak this year, right? I mean, I can't think of anybody that for 4 games in a row, you're like, dude, this guy's crushing it right now.
I mean, that's a great point. It's one that I hadn't really thought of. Now, Altuve in the beginning, he
Yeah.
had that little run where he hit a bunch of homers. Isaac Paredes had those 3 homers in 3 consecutive games. I mean, Jeremy Pena had that hitting streak that Astros media relations tried to shove down your throat when it was, I think he had a 15-game hitting streak. He had
He's
17,
like 260.
he had 17 hits in the 15-game hitting streak,
Yeah.
and I think all but 4 of them were singles.
I love hitting streaks for that. Those always crack me up.
Like, it's that kind of stuff. So yeah, and that is another very salient point. They have not had a guy just go off.
There's nobody in the lineup right now that when they come to the plate, you're like, watch out, this guy's on. I have not had that feeling yet this year watching this team.
You kind of did today when Alvarez came up. I mean, he hit the double, he hit the homer, and then
he'll do that. He's really good.
Yeah, and then in his third at bat, they very clearly pitched around him. Chris Booth gave him 4 balls, nothing to hit, and then Christian Walker came up and struck out. Like, again, that's the problem here, is that, like, the one guy that does instill fear in you, the 2 guys that have been perpetually hitting behind him instill no fear in anyone. So, I mean, it's an all-encompassing problem. To blame it on those 3 guys is a little disingenuous, but those are the 3 guys that, if they want to get this turned around quickly, they've got to pick it up. We've spent so much time on offense. Let's do 2 pitching things real quick. Were you concerned? Like, Hayden Wesneski, I mean, pitch fine, 2 runs against the Royals. His velo was pretty precipitously down across the board. And then, you know, comes out today that they put the probables out for the Tigers series, and they are TBA in the final game of the series, which is Hayden Wesneski's turn in the rotation.
Cool.
Did the velo drop worry you, or kind of where are you at with that? I mean, it worried me because it was.
I texted you during the game, like, what's. And I haven't gone back, and I was listening to it on the radio, and Steve Sparks always does a really good job of noticing little intricacies, especially pitching wise. He's always really good about noticing this guy's throwing differently, or his mechanics look off or whatever. And he mentioned on the radio broadcast, like I said, I haven't gone back to look, but he said Wesneski in that last start was throwing a lot more like up and down, as opposed to that kind of, you know, cross body delivery that he's had, which also would indicate some sort of pain somewhere that he's compensating for. I don't want to get you started on a 30-minute Astros medical team rant, so we're just going to say he's TBD right now. But yeah, that's concerning.
Yeah. To
be honest, you don't want to be in a place where a Hayden Wesneski injury concerns you as a team. You know, that's a symptom of something else going on. But he's been really good for what he is. I want to talk about Forrest Whitley. Can you tell me, when did this happen? Why does this keep happening to him?
One more thing real quick on Hayden Wesneski. I will say this. They would not have let him throw 6 innings if he was hurt. Like,
sure. If
he felt anything, if his shoulder was hurting, if his elbow was like, he would not have kept pitching. So maybe it's something that, like,
didn't Lance McCullers pitch with a fake arm for like a month at one point, where he tore his UCL and just kept going?
Yeah, but he was in relief at that point. They put him in.
Yeah.
Forrest Whitley,
poor guy.
I'm at this point, I'm out of words. I mean, like, I feel terrible for him.
He looked so good. He came. I was like, all right, we're here.
Like, he legit, like, those 2 innings he threw against Toronto. Like, I knew it was in a mop-up game, but, like, you're looking like, damn, like, this again. This is what they didn't have. They had, like, a right-hander throwing 99, like, with movement. It was like, man, like, if this keeps up, like, you look at him, like, he's in a leverage role if he keeps this up. And It's the same knee that bothered him in spring training. It's the same knee that caused him to miss the start of the season. Because I wasn't in Kansas City, so I'm unsure what specifically happened. It's listening to Dana Brown on the pregame show today with Robert Ford. It sounds like just something that popped up when he was playing catch. It sounds like they're going to get him back to Houston. He flew back to Houston with the team after the game today, so they're going to get him checked out. But he's gone for 15 days. I can't imagine. It's his plant leg too. It's his left knee. So like, I can't imagine that even if it's all clear, he's going to go back to just throwing at 100% when it's his lower half. So I don't want to portend bad news, but I think it's going to be probably longer than 15 days. Which, I mean, look, there's no other way to spin. It's tough. I mean, it's tough for a guy that has gone through so much that some of it has been within his control, some of it has been out of his control. But just I don't know if you look up the definition of star-crossed career in the dictionary, like Forrest Whitley's picture should be right there. And here's hoping, just from a human perspective, here's hoping like it gets fixed and he can get back and return and contribute. But I mean, Tyler, you've been following it as long as I have. Like, I hate to say we weren't surprised, but you see it and you're not surprised at first, and then it just kind of hits you from a human perspective. You feel so bad for the guy.
Yeah, it's awful. I mean, you just hope that somehow it all clicks at some point, because I mean, he's got the stuff, clearly. But yeah, that's tough to see. On the other side, can you give me a Lance McCullers update?
So Lance struck out a bunch of double-A hitters on Saturday, pitching for Corpus Christi. He threw, I believe, 75 pitches, got 5 innings, 5 ups. I don't know what's next, because Dana Brown went on the radio today with Robert Ford and said that they were more than likely going to give him another minor league rehab start. Because in part, due to that stomach bug, he actually lost like 15 pounds while having that stomach bug.
Congrats.
And good for him. He didn't need to lose weight, but looks great either way. I imagine they want to get him another start just to make sure like he's fully recovered from that, because like you don't just put that weight back on like immediately. But it sounds like Joe Espada was a little less definitive about that in Kansas City. It certainly could present itself that he pitches this week in Chicago against the White Sox, because he would be on turn to pitch, I believe, Saturday or Sunday. When was Wisniewski supposed to start? Well, Wisniewski is in the rotation to start on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
And Lance would not be. He would not be on regular rest to start. So Wednesday's out of the question. So he would be online to start this weekend in Chicago. Pitching against the White Sox is basically a minor league rehab assignment at this point. But I mean, I say that in jest. But the GM of the team went on a team-run radio station and said that they were going to give him another minor league rehab start. So I tend to believe that, but they've done some different things before. But either way, Lance is close, and there was no public like StatCast or velocity readings from the Double-A start. So I can't tell you what his velo was. I can't tell you kind of the shape or how anything looked, but the results speak for themselves. I mean, I think he punched out 8 guys in 5 innings. So again, if there is something amiss with Hayden Wisniewski, at least the Astros do have McCullers kind of waiting in the wings for whenever he's ready.
I'm ready, man. I want to see him pitch again. It's been a while. So excited for that. Hoping Whitley can figure that out. Hope Wisniewski's fine. Hope maybe they can sneak in some metal bats for Walker and Diaz. See if that helps them out at all. I don't know. But yeah, it's the problem is that there's not a lot that you can look to go like, well, here's the juice that's coming. No. This is the team.
And it doesn't get any easier. Like the Tigers are coming in here with Jack Flaherty going in game 1. The Astros are going to miss Tarek Skubal, but the Tigers still have the lowest ERA in baseball. They're pitching Jack Flaherty. They're pitching Reese Olson, who you've never heard of but is really good, which is basically their entire pitching staff. And then Jackson Jobe, the rookie phenom, will pitch on Wednesday. And they've got all these random guys in their bullpen that come out throwing 99 that no one's ever heard of. And AJ's going to manage all 3 of these games like it's the World Series. So it gets no easier for a struggling Astros lineup going up against the Detroit Tigers this week at Dyken Park. And we will have full analysis for you when that series concludes. If you want, you can rate and review us on Apple. Please do so. Please give us 5 stars. You can subscribe on YouTube to the Crush City Territory YouTube channel so you can know when new content posts. You can follow me on Twitter at Chandler_Rome. You can follow Tyler at Tyler C. Stafford. And as always, we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.